In terms of my training, my professional training, I'm a clinical psychologist. So my work is mainly psychotherapy. When I look at psychotherapy, I cannot help but lay it side by side with what I know to be ancient cultural practices. And in this particular case, I have been apprenticed to masters in alchemical Taoism and religious Taoism. It is easy to see the rituals of alchemical Taoism, this religious Taoism, as shamanic rituals. There's no, the differentiation is, the similarities are overwhelming. And it is a lot more difficult to identify my school of alchemical Taoism with group ceremonies, because the alchemist is a metropolitan recluse, a metropolitan hermit. He doesn't seek to live in the mountains. He does his practices amongst the crowds. People, he doesn't look different. He dresses as quote-unquote normal people. And it is in this quadrant of alchemical fire that this man seeks to purify his essence and become a xian, which is an immortal, which in my opinion, the next step to human evolution. The origin of shamanism, the core of all healing, psychosomatic, medical, herbal, or whatever, are all in shamanism. And it also includes ceremonial healing. And that is the first question you asked. I would wager to say that shamanism is a form of, it's a ritualistic tabloid to change the consciousness state of a person so that he might get rid of his or improve in his diseases, somatic diseases, or psychological disturbances, or relationship tumults. So it covers the entire arena of what psychotherapy is doing today. It is the real ancestor of all modern psychotherapeutic healing. I think here we have to go to a man called Freud. I think he is the first man to put forward the word group dynamics. It's the dynamics. It's not the one and one and one and one and one. It's a gestalt. So when a group forms, there is an energy which is distinct from the individuals. And that energy is the interaction between and amongst the participants. And there are no coincidences. There are 10, let's say there are 10 people attending a group. These 10 people have their own illnesses and have their own agendas, but there is a group mind. And this group mind is what Jung called the collective unconscious. And this group has this group mind which in many ways the dynamics between and amongst the participants will morph meaning changing the form of the manifestation of whatever is at the core of their presenting problem. So let's say in your group, in your healing group, I'm sitting there very lazy and you're doing this on a single individual, but somehow if the individual has some symptoms, which I do have, then it awakens my kinship with him or her. And I'm not watching somebody being healed. I'm watching part of me being healed. And to put it in a more metaphysical way, but I think a very important way, the other group members are other me's. I'm watching myself changing. And in that case, I'm a participant, a real participant observer. And it affects me much better than if I'm alone and healed by you. I think group therapy has a synergistic energy that does not manifest itself in the same way as between a single psychotherapist and a client. Well, Freud has a very interesting word for it. He calls it transference. Transference is transference of psychic energy. Freud has a very Newtonian model which can become a quantum model if he is still alive. I'm the client, I project upon you psychic energies that are inside of me, my images of my parents, the traumas I went through in childhood, and the good things that I cherish during my teen years or whatever. So I will have positive transference towards you. I project the best father and mother figure onto you. And I expect you to be God in a way for me, because I'm in trouble. I need God the Father or the Blessed Virgin or Guan Yin to help me. So I have a lot of expectation on you. And I think it is the lot of the healer, the psychotherapist, to be really conscious of this transference of energy, because on your part as a healer you will have counter transference. We are talking about energy here. You will also project your background, your significant others onto me. So we do, in the beginning of a session or group therapy, it's always begin as chaos. We can have psychotherapeutic insight here. When we meet a new client or a person in a therapeutic group, it is very important to let him evolve by himself or herself. and not to crack into the person. There are many therapeutic procedures that force their way upon a person. And when the person has his own agenda for evolvement, and the dynamics of the group may impose itself on a person unnecessarily, and it is incumbent upon the group leader to be able to direct the flow of the dynamics. To make it very, very modern, there is no person who can live a good life if he doesn't understand how to market himself, how to present himself in everyday life. And to do that, he cannot live in his own subjective world. I think we owe it to European thought rather than American thought that there is such a thing as intersubjectivity. The entire structural linguistics movement is to alert us to the fact that in a community, what is really shared is a language which holds together the psychic community. The psychic community is integral because they have a common language. And so we think in that language. And as long as we are native members of a community, we think we know what the consensus reality is. And if we do not conform to the consensus reality, we will be seen as either psychotic people or geniuses. There is somewhere a demarcation. Is how much you partake of my world and how much I choose to partake of your world. Then I might alienate the entire community, or I might endear myself to the community. And to the extent that we master the hidden dynamics, it could either make or ruin us. I would say if you take a science and now you take, I'm almost said voodooism, which is what you say the shamanism. Shamanism is voodoo in the public eye. It is ignorance, it is superstition of the highest order. So if you're a shaman, don't even pretend to be able to speak my language because I'm a scientist. Now this is the language barrier. Everything is linguistics, and every linguistics is psycholinguistics. And if you label something shamanic, it is shamanic. And if you label it science and you have enough credentials to do so, then it is science. A lot of Nobel Prize winners attribute their insight to the influence of Eastern culture, in particular Taoism. the symbol of the yin fish and the yang fish. That symbol is called the Taiji tool. Taiji meaning the supreme ultimate, and Tu meaning a graph. I have come to call this phenomenon magic is science, and science is also magic. It is, I have couched it in because these two things don't jive to an ordinary scholar. But if we dig deep, they are the self-same entities or energies. It demands somebody with an organismic will of the universe. We embrace all disciplines, and all disciplines can coexist. If one has this kind of disposition, one can easily see there are no differences. A and non-A coexist at the same time. And this is more than a mystical statement turned modern. It means that humanity, which is all the time at risk, can have a way out, and that is to understand that beneath the babble of tongues, the Bible story, we are speaking the self-same language, namely the language of the gods, Buddhist, Taoist, or Islamic. At this point in time, there is no doubt in your mind that I'm a very superstitious person. And this is one of the displays of my superstition. In Vajrayana Buddhism, my Yidam, that is my most important god or Buddha, is the Amida Buddha. And the Amida Buddha has many, many manifestations. One of Amida Buddha is also called the Infinite Light Buddha. And there is one of his manifestations is infinite years. I'm 66 years old. I prefer to call myself 66 years young. And at this particular age, I need a long life Buddha. He is the infinite years Buddha. So I have a mission to execute. So I wish, if in English we say, God willing, I say, my ancestors and the long life Buddha willing, I'll be given enough years to finish my mission on earth. And that is why I have this public display of ultra superstition.